What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel. Today is day 2 of Packers mandatory minicamp. Yesterday was the first day of minicamp. I put out 2 videos on my channel going over the highlights and recap of that. So if you want to go watch that, even if you haven't already, check out my channel. Then they have the session today, and they also have a session tomorrow, but it's likely going to be a team building event, something like paintball or something of that sort. So there probably won't be a practice tomorrow, but there was a practice today. So I have a bunch of highlights again to go over and break down and react to for you guys. Yesterday, there was a lot of offensive highlights. Today, there was a lot of defensive ones, so stick around. Let's get into it. And guys, if you're a new viewer, I highly suggest you subscribe to this channel. I post Packers content all the time. And if you want to stay up to date on the Green Bay Packers the entirety of the offseason, through minicamp, through then when we get into training camp and preseason updates every single day of that, definitely go down, click subscribe, and turn on post notifications to not miss any of that content, and then also leave a like on the video to support my channel. Thank you guys so much for all the endless support. You guys mean the world to me. So without further ado, let's bring up the screen here, and this first clip is just simply a clip of Jonathan Garvin. And that much is interesting because this is the first practice that we've seen Jonathan Garvin in. He skipped all of OTAs, and he wasn't here yesterday during the mandatory minicamp, although Matt LaFleur said it was perfect attendance, and everyone who wasn't there was excused and had a reason to not be there. So I don't know if he also had a reason to not be at OTAs. He wasn't at last year's OTAs as well. We don't really know that reason. But for a fringe roster guy, unless he absolutely couldn't make it for some personal matter, I feel like it would be very important for him to be at every single practice because that edge room needs depth, guys. And I feel like at this point, someone like an undrafted free agent like Brenton Cox Jr. could easily take his spot in the edge room. And honestly, I think he will. I think John Garvin needs every practice he can get. So for him not to be there the entirety of OTAs and even missing yesterday's minicamp, to me, he's just not going to make the 53-man roster. In this clip, we have Lucas Van Ness and Jonathan Ford doing some defensive lineman drills. And man, Lucas Van Ness's explosion off the line of scrimmage is just insane. And I know this, I say this every video because they haven't had a practice with pads yet. But the pads aren't on, and a lot of people will look a lot faster than when the pads come on. But you can't deny LVN's explosion. I mean, the Packers drafted him. He has extremely high RAS. His explosion grades were off the chart, and you can see that in real time, how fast this guy gets off the line. And then at the bottom, we see John Ford, who could end up making this roster as he's really our only nose tackle depth behind TJ Slayton. So excited to see him in year 2. In this clip, we have both Kenny Clark and Justin Hollins doing the same drill. And it's pretty crazy how Kenny Clark is pretty much at the same speed as Justin Hollins right here in this drill. I mean, Kenny Clark just gets into the backfield so quickly. I feel like there's multiple times a game where he beats the quarterback to handing off the ball to the running back, and he's simply just right there to tackle the running back or pressure the quarterback or something of that sort. Kenny Clark is an absolute beast for the Green Bay Packers at defensive tackle, and the fact that he's only 27 still blows my mind. And like I said, the fact that he's doing this drill as fast, if not faster than Justin Hollins at 60 pounds heavier is even crazier. Here's another clip of Kenny Clark and Justin Hollins doing pretty much the same drill. Justin Hollins, I was talking about him yesterday. In my eyes, honestly, I think Hollins is a roster lock. Not many people might agree with that, but I feel like there are a few that will. Just because the Packers re-signed him this offseason, and I feel like he gave a lot to the defense last year when they needed him, right? With Rashawn Gary going down with injury, I felt like he was almost a veteran presence coming into that room. He was good against the run. He was pretty good against the pass, and I feel like the Packers need someone like that in their depth for edge right now. And he very well could be our starter opposite Preston Smith week 1. I think it's going to be Enigbare, but they could rotate all those guys week 1 equally. Enigbare, Justin Hollins, and Lucas Van Ness. Here we have a clip of undrafted free agent Brenton Cox Jr., who I slightly talked about earlier in this video. I think this guy is going to make the roster. He has all the talent. It's just if he can keep his head in the game. You know, transferring from Georgia to Florida and then getting dismissed from Florida last year. There definitely are some character concerns, but I think he does have the heart to play football. And I believe if he puts it all together, this guy can be extremely dangerous and an absolute steal for an undrafted free agent. And speaking of draft steals, here is a clip of 7th round selection Anthony Johnson Jr. from Iowa State at safety. A lot of people had him graded in the 4th to 5th round. I think PFF had him as like a 2nd round safety, which, you know, the PFF isn't the end all be all, and they are wrong a lot of the time, but they also have some merit. I think Anthony Johnson Jr. is an excellent draft selection in the 7th round. I feel like I would have been happy with the Packers selecting him in the 5th round. and I think he can contest for that starting safety role. Maybe not week 1. I still think he's got to learn the defense and really get up to speed with the NFL level. But I think by midseason, we might start seeing some snaps from Anthony Johnson Jr., maybe some significant amount of snaps depending on how Savage plays, how Rudy Ford plays, if there's any injuries, and also how the two guys play that are street free agents with Tarvarius Moore and Jonathan Owens. But I'm really hype for Anthony Johnson Jr., if I say so myself. Here's a clip of another Green Bay Packers 7th round draft selection, and that is Carrington Valentine out of Kentucky. I know a lot of people like him, and it's always good to get depth cornerbacks. He's probably going to be purely an outside guy at cornerback, and I feel like the Packers did need depth at that. It depends when Eric Stokes comes back, but if Eric Stokes isn't ready week 1, Carrington Valentine might see some snaps early on as a rotational guy if they need a guy outside to play, if another cornerback like Rasul or Jair needs a breather or something of that sort, or if they go into a dime look, he might get some snaps early. But it looked like Eric Stokes looked good yesterday. But I think Carrington Valentine could be an underrated, player come future years, a really nice depth cornerback, core special team type of player. So I was really happy with that pick there in the 7th round. And it's not a mini camp or OTA highlight video if there's not a clip of Luke Musgrave looking freakishly fast. At this point, I just really want the pads to come on, and that's going to take, till training camp, and even then, a week after training camp starts. I believe the first week is unpadded as well. But I just cannot wait to some live action, whether that's against the Packers defense or joint practice or preseason when Luke Musgrave gets the pads on, because I don't know if it's, just the camera angle or what they're doing recording him, but he looks absolutely insanely fast for a tight end here. And honestly, I'm just so excited for Luke Musgrave. Now we have a few clips of Jordan Love throwing some passes. This first pass on the outside to Josiah DeGuara on an out route. Nice toe touch, very well-placed ball by Jordan Love. In the clips I have today, he throws some really nice balls here. We saw DeGuara with the one-handed catch yesterday. DeGuara might start off getting a lot of snaps this year over someone like Musgrave or Kraft just because of the experience he has in the Packers offense. Here we have Jordan Love throwing to A.J. Dillon on an extended option route off of a curl into an inside route there, probably working through progression training and whatnot and finding A.J. Dillon up the field. I'd like to see A.J. Dillon more in the passing game this year and for him to clean up his consistency in terms of his hands, because I know he had a few drops last year. He's had a few drops in practice so far, so I'd really like to see him clean that up. Here we have a clip of Christian Watson running a comeback route and just a very nicely thrown ball by Jordan Love. The timing, the placement, high and outside, threw the ball before the break and got him right on the sideline for Christian Watson. Those are really nice thrown balls. Very impressed by this throw. And yeah, it's just mini camp, but this is all we have to go off of right now, and this is all we have until we start to see, some Jordan Love live action in training camp and then preseason. But this is a really nice throw here to Christian Watson. Here we have another throw from Jordan Love to Christian Watson on a deep slant after a play action concept there. I said it yesterday, man. I feel like Christian Watson looks even faster, which is crazy to say, and mainly just because I feel like he's getting in and out of his breaks quicker than he did last year. And I sound like a broken record here, but yeah, there's no pads on, and we'll see if he looks like this when the pads come on. But I think still, regardless, he looks quicker in and out of his breaks and running his routes, which is awesome. I think he's been training for that, and if he gets really good at route running, I'm just saying right now, look out. Here's Watson running a quick stop route, and just look how quickly he brings that ball into his body and flips his body around and gets upfield. It's all very seamless. It's not slow at all. He's quickly getting that ball into his body, away from a defender if they were to come in trying to break that up, and breaking right outside, all seamless there. Here's a clip of rookie wide receiver Jaden Reed running a deep out route. A little bit high of a ball by Danny Etling, but nice job Jaden Reed getting up, catching that ball, staying in bounds, and then turning up the sideline. Nice throw and catch there, Etling to Reed. But those are all the warm-up clips I have from day 2 of Packers minicamp. Like I said, it's probably going to be a team building event tomorrow, so there likely won't be any highlights or anything of that sort. And then we're going to have to wait all the way until July for training camp to get any sort of video of these players. Yeah, I actually just checked. The first day of training camp is July 26th, which I believe is 42 days away. So there's going to be a little stretch here where there's not much going on with Green Bay Packers. Maybe they, end up cutting and signing a few players, or something around the league happens, but there's not, or they re-sign one of their own players, but there's not going to be much going on until July. But then once it's July, there's going to be a ton going on with the Green Bay Packers training camp. But I appreciate everyone watching. Like I said, if you could leave a like down below, it supports my channel. channel a ton, helps me out with that whole YouTube algorithm. But I'll catch you on the next one. Thanks for watching, and as always, go Pack Go.